Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. We are going to keep on going with our Player's Guide series, taking a look at the monk. Today, we are going to be wrapping up what kinds of gear you should be looking at picking out or hopefully picking up over the course of gameplay as your monk progresses in level and capabilities, and their wallet gets just a tad heavier and they're more able to afford better and better gear as time goes on. And to get us going right off the bat here, we are going with the biggest magic gear category, that is the wondrous items. Wondrous items are those different magical bits that just have so many awesome effects to them. And, well, shouldn't say all are awesome. Not all bits of wondrous items are made equally, but they're still useful. The effects can be handy, but some are more helpful than others in our particular case. So let's just go right into this and start devouring the content. Coming up, starting us off, we have the Amulet of Mighty Fists. This is the most useful and sought after item that you will ever want to try and pick up, and it's going to be the most ridiculously expensive, unless you're fortunate enough to pick up a blank somehow. What this does for you is it's going to let you be and remain unarmed as much as possible when it comes to dealing damage, since unarmed is how you're going to be dealing out the bulk of your damage. Basically, with this amulet, you can get it enchanted with all the different damage effects. You can get it enchanted with holy, fire, ice, electricity, acid damage, sonic damage, all the damages and the damage rainbow that you could possibly want or have you can throw down on this item. And it doesn't require the standard +1 enchantment to be set on it first, like you would find with weapons or armor. So this is going to be a really useful, diversifiable item that will make your life quite a bit easier as this frontline damage-dealing Fists of Fury little dwarven wrecking ball of a monk. But, like I said, it's incredibly expensive and it's just not going to be a right-away grab. So for a long time, your weapons are going to be the way you overcome the various kinds of damage reduction you're going to be encountering out there. But let's go on. Next up, we have the Cloak of Resistance. Now, for those of you that are veterans of the game, it's pretty obvious why you would want this. But for all you newbies out there, you first-timers diving right into this, this is going to be the item that boosts that already awesome save score. All of your save scores, for that matter. And it's always going to be useful to you. It's always going to be useful to every character class. So since you already have really good saves and all of your save scores run off of stats that are going to be fairly solid for you, it may not hurt you to pass up on the first couple of them, and allow the other players to get a hold of them to boost their okay to poor saves. It's really going to be handy for them. And, as they upgrade, go ahead and snag some of the hand-me-downs. Or if you're lucky enough, you may all end up with a solid Cloak of Resistance. But, really, this is going to be the best item for your cloak slot. Not very many are going to really compare when it comes to the Cloak of Resistance in terms of its usefulness. Going off from that, we have the Headband of Wisdom. This is going to be boosting your wisdom score, which will boost your armor class, your will saves, your chi pool. You want this, and if you've been following this build guide so far, you understand why you want this. There are other versions that will also be able to boost your intelligence or your charisma, but these aren't really huge concerns for you. And if you get one that does all of these things, hey, fantastic. But if the party ends up finding one that boosts your wisdom score to a higher degree, then maybe consider, trading with another party member. Give them the headband that boosts all the scores in favor of the one that's going to boost your wisdom score. And then we have Monk's Robe, which of course goes in the robe category. With this beauty, this awesome little gem, you're going to be treated as if you were a monk of 5 levels higher. So your unarmed damage is going to go up by at least 1, maybe 2 steps depending on level. So your armor class feature, your movement speed, your uses of stunning fist will go up. So many things are going to be boosted by this, and this is absolutely an incredible grab for any monk build, much less the Fists of Fury build. So absolutely pick this one up or grab it. Don't let the rest of the party sell it off. This will be great. And then next we have the Belt of Giant Strength, or Belts of Physical Might. If you have a chance to grab a belt that's going to boost all of your physical stats, great. That's going to be incredibly useful for you because, again, you're a frontline fighter. So having your strength go up boosts your damage and your ability to hit, which is what this build is all about. Then boosting your dexterity, that's going to help keep you from getting hit, go faster in initiative, boost your reflex saves, and a bunch of your other skills. So again, really useful. This also boosts your constitution, which you're going to get hit eventually, so having a higher constitution means better hit point totals, and also a boost to your fortitude saves. So really, really useful to have. And then, continuing on from there, we go to Boots of Speed. Now, Boots of Speed will let you drop haste on your character when you need it. It boosts your movement, your attack, your number of attacks, so on and so forth. Really incredibly useful to have. Not as great as some of the previous items, but this is going to be a good get. The only real drawback to it is, and I get why it's on there, there's a limit on how much you can use it for per day. I believe it's only a couple of minutes at best. So really, still a really good grab in spite of that limitation. And then we have the Bracers of Armor. Now, you getting a wand of mage armor and having the party wizard or sorcerer or witch cast it on you is going to be the more cost-effective way to start off. It just gives you a +4 bonus to armor. But the Bracers of Armor do go up to a +8 total eventually. They're expensive at that point, but by the time the +8 Bracers of Armor start dropping, you're probably going to be able to afford them, or maybe even pick one up off of a defeated enemy. So that's really going to blow Mage Armor out of the water. So, grab them as they come available. And then the Carpet of Flying. This is the go-to item that you really want to have to really boost your mobility. You won't be able to take advantage of your own boosted speed through your class features, but you're going to be bypassing difficult terrain, all the different hazards and traps. You can even bypass a bunch of enemies, and depending on the size of the carpet, you can bring friends along with you. So, really, really good item to pick up if you can get it. And then Boots of Levitation, if you don't have a Carpet of Flying, this is not bad. I mean, definitely consider these ones to be a green item if you don't have a Carpet of Flying, because these are, while it's not flight, it's still going to give you some of the advantages, such as you're going to be negating a lot of the floor-based physical traps. You're not going to be worried about hazardous terrain in any way, shape, or form. Really, really good item to have in that case. But they're kind of spendy, and you're going to be better off with a Carpet of Flying. And then Slippers of Spider Climbing, which, if you don't have Boots of Levitation, these are going to be helpful for that as well. These are going to let you climb vertical surfaces and ceilings with incredible ease. And if you can't think of the tactical usefulness of being up on the ceiling to start a fight, you're lacking in imagination. But still, not a bad one to get, but there are still better options out there. And then, also we have the Amulet of Natural Armor, which takes the amulet spot where you want your Amulet of Mighty Fists, but like I said before, that's going to be something that you're not grabbing right away. So if you find one of these, great, because again, you're boosting your armor class. But these, in reality, you bypass these the minute you get something better. They're not bad. They're useful to you, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on. We come up to the rings. Rings, there's only really 2 on here in this listing, and really I agree with Treant Monk on these. The selection for rings. If you find a magic ring, most magic rings will have some degree of use or utility, but it may not always be applicable. Like, for example, if you're playing a more aquatic themed or based campaign, then obviously rings of water breathing or anything like that will be much more useful to you. Water walking, even if it's all ship-based combat or even underwater stuff, those things will be incredibly useful, and of course be rated green or even blue. But that's really circumstantial and dependent on the campaign itself. These ones here, though, are going to be the most useful to you, really, to most classes. Rings of Protection provide a much-needed boost to your armor class, and it's going to be something that's valued and coveted by most of you lightly armored characters. So rogues, monks, wizards, and sorcerers, all character classes will get a use out of this, and comes in flavors of +1 protection all the way up to +5. So definitely want to snag these as they come available. And then freedom of movement, which I'm really not sure why Treant Monk mentions that this isn't something that's needed early on, but early on you're not going to be finding a lot of magic gear either picking up from enemies as treasure stored away in ancient tombs or catacombs, or you're not even really going to be purchasing a whole lot either. So it's already limited to start with from the beginning of the game, the first handful of levels. But that said, this is still a great item for dealing with spells like Web or Entangle and the like, because this is going to let you, well, move freely across all these different things. So it's going to be very, very useful for you, and it just helps out quite a bit. It really meshes nicely with saving your level of mobility. Well, once you have the ability to kind of dimension door around a little bit, it helps negate a lot of those, or even if you're flying over various hazards and the like. When things start to go down and combat starts heating up and the spells start flying, you'll be thankful that you really have this one down. So that really covers it for most of the equipment options here and the things you want to pick out and look for. That wraps it up from last time around. The one thing I will say and end with here is that all of these are take it as your dream picks, your best options, what you ideally want to have. You're not guaranteed to get these. It just really depends on what your resident DM is wanting to throw at you guys. You may not even be playing in a campaign that has magic, so really a lot of the gear selection here won't quite be applicable. The weapons portion obviously will continue to work really well. I think this produces some interesting options and suggestions and ideas for you guys out there. But when it comes to the magical portions of the gear and all the various enchantments and the like that you can get, if you're not in a magic campaign, it's obviously just not going to work right. And I've played with some DMs who are really stingy when it comes to rewarding magic gear. So forcing myself and my teammates to come up with different ways of trying to enchant the gear ourselves, or to scavenge, scribe, and save to just try to get something for a boost. And that's a whole nother thing for another day. But point being, like I said, this list and the previous episodes list are mostly the dream picks, what you ideally want to grab and what you want to look out for as these different items come available, if they come available. What ones you want to pick, what ones you want to trade on with the other teammates, and which ones are kind of okay to pass on by. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. If you've been enjoying the content here so far, hey, consider maybe liking the video or even subscribing to the channel, because we will always enjoy having more members down here at the Gamers Den. But with that said, thank you all for your time. You guys have yourselves a good night.